Okay, let's just recap the U.S. markets for you early today. Citigroup and Wells Fargo's shares were down in pre-market after the third quarter numbers. Goldman Sachs stocks is also down pre-market today on Wall Street because of its earnings disappointment. JP Morgan Chase beats profit and revenue expectations. Its stock price, share price is rallying today. Quite a bit of a mixed bag there for for U.S. banks reporting this Tuesday. Tomorrow you expect more of these earnings, not just from the banking industry, but other sectors of the New York Stock Exchange. But let's come back to the African market, where Angola's central bank governor, Ose Masano, says more banks could have their licenses revoked in a push to clean up the country's financial sector, with results of the asset quality review due at the end of this month. Angola has 27 banks left after revoking 2 banking licenses this year, while results of a wider audit of its financial sector are due later in October. Mr. Masano explains that any commercial bank found to need more capital deposits would have until June next year to fix those buffers and could keep operating until then, adding that non-performing loans currently, about 30% of all lenders' debt, is not acceptable. He said the government is also planning to tap international capital markets again before the end of the year. Let's talk about the oil deal here in Nigeria. Island Oil and Gas PLC striking a deal to sell the company to Nigeria's Seplat Petroleum, listed in Lagos and London stock exchanges for £382 million in cash. The shares, which will have to be approved by court-ordered meetings, will be concluded before the end of the year, according to a statement released. The proposal is looking at 166 pence as per share that Seplat Petroleum will pay for the shares. According to the chief executive of Seplat, Austin Avuru, the acquisition reinforces Seplat's status as one of Nigeria's leading indigenous independent exploration companies. Look at it, global oil markets today in early trade. Oil prices were down after falling heavily in previous sessions, parrying those losses even as we speak, as weak Chinese economic data for September added to the lingering concerns about the feasibility of the U.S.-China trade deal announced by President Donald Trump late last week. Brent crude futures fell 0.5% to $59.06 a barrel, while the U.S. West Texas Intermediate futures was trading $53.38 a barrel, down 0.4%. Doubts over the agreement between Washington and Beijing, designed to end a brutal trade war between the world's 2 top economies, also kept sentiment weak. The U.S.-China dispute has cast a shadow on global economic growth prospects and left question marks over future oil demand. So that takes us to, let's talk about the oil market and what is the issue all around the IEA revising global oil demand and what it means for Nigeria's economic futures. We're talking to Desola Sumoni from Financial Derivatives Company. Desola is joining us via Skype from Reading in the UK. Desola, good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Hi, boys, and good afternoon. It's good to see you again.
Great. So let's hit the ground running. This projection by the international energy agencies of the global oil demand just by 65,000 barrels per day to 1 million barrels per day this year. How do you think this outlook will impact demand for Nigerian oil and the country's budget and economic fortunes tied to oil production, oil price, oil demand?
Thank you for that question, both. And it's important to know that, this is the 4th time that the IEA has downgraded, the oil demand growth forecast in the last 6 months. And this just goes to show that, for the rest of this year and for 2020, we expect the market to be a little bit oversupplied. And when we have oversupply, together with, soft demand, we expect to see lower prices, and this is very, very significant for Nigeria. For instance, like last week, the president presented the budget, which is about, which had expenditures about 10 trillion and revenues about 8 trillion. And if oil prices are lower than expected, then it might affect our budgeted revenue, affects Nigeria's budget performance, which currently for 2019 budget revenue performance is about 58%. It might also affect the external reserves. The external reserves may not accrete as fast as we might like or as strong as we might like. And this might go on to affect, the CBN's policy of, using the external reserves to defend the naira by, constantly injecting FX into the FX market. So I think this is how it would impact on Nigeria's economic futures.
To sell, yes, to sell your oil, you need those super tankers that floats around the global oil waters everywhere in the world. So those folks are also raising their rates. They're now charging as much as $140,000 per day. If you have these vessels sitting on the high oceans and you're looking for buyers, even at a discount, as some of the oil producers like Nigeria is facing at the moment, it looks like whatever you sell at the end of the day, you got to pay those super tankers to make those deliveries. So where does that leave you when there is still a slack in demand? So you have more vessels sitting idle.
I mean, I think before I proceed, I think it's important to first of all give context. Why are these prices jumping? Why are the prices for these super tankers jumping so high in such a short period of time? And there are a number of factors responsible for that. Number one, the U.S. recently imposed some sanctions on major Chinese ship owners, which owns a lot of these VLCCs, which are very large crude carriers. So that's one factor. Two, these geopolitical tensions in the Middle East, particularly with Saudi Arabia and Iran, is also affecting the cost of shipping crude. And finally, a lot of these VLCCs are off the sea. They are on the harbor to be refitted with some features that will reduce their carbon emission to comply with international carbon emission standards, which is taking effect from next year. So that's the context, and that is why these prices are jumping higher as they are.
This Olasumani, let's leave it there for today. Thank you so much for getting across to us from Reading in the UK. Thank you so much. A member of the research team at Financial Derivatives Company. Temple Ashaju is our business correspondent and is live to us from the trading floor at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, trying to keep one eye on Seplat and that announcement, £382 million to buy Eland Oil and Gas. Temple, what more are you learning this afternoon? How is this stock trading?
Well, the price has not changed, boss, and it's still at 517 naira. It would have changed lower, but for the good news that came in, the fact that they are now onboarding Eland Oil and Gas assets now, which is in London. That's a good thing. So we've seen quite a number of buy sentiment. However, you know that there's not so much liquidity in the equity markets lately, so we can't really see enough patronage that will push up the share price of the company. But if this level of demand on the shares continues by tomorrow, it should change the price for the better, Bosun.
Yeah, I'm sure investors are looking at anything in Transcorp? Transcorp Hotel?
Well, not so much. Well, you know, Transcorp Hotel is typically always at 5 naira 40, but there hasn't been any deal on it all day. Transcorp, which is the parent company now, is the one that is experiencing some pressure actually, and that pressure has been around this particular company for some time. It's down by more than 1% as we speak, but I know that a lot of investors are at least happy with the fact that the Transcorp Hotel is now free from being monitored and being checked always by government. It has met its all post-privatization obligations, so they are free from lots of checks, which will give them enough room to be able to focus on other expansionary plans that they have, like building a hotel in Lagos and be able to maintain all other assets that they have across the country, Bosin.
Okay, Temple, we got to wrap up the show. You're still on the floor. You need to track the market, the closing bell at 2:30. So you hanging around there. We've got to wrap up the show from here. Thank you so much, Temple Ashaju, and to all our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.